Oh, hey, look, we're live. I think I say that at the beginning of all of these. Maybe that'll
You
be like
do.
when it's no longer 2020, I won't say that anymore. Speaking of a good way to end 2020, Mike wanted me to do this before I had coffee today. And so I quickly made coffee and then spilled it on myself. So thanks, Mike. I
So
appreciate
don't stand up and show us that, okay?
that. I don't no, but I will show you the mug. I have my New York City mug because 2021 is going to be the year when we can actually travel and see family and friends again.
And
I
and
promise.
New York City is the place.
It is a place, and it is the place I have a mug for.
I'm actually I'm trying to schedule a trip down to Pismo Beach
Oh, nice.
to go hang out, in SLO County in California. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
thinking along about July, everything's going to be okay. And I'm looking, and there's no place to stay in July.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of pent up demand to get out of basements.
There's a lot of pent up demand to get out of basements.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Who would have thunk a year ago we would have said there's a lot of pent up demand to get out of People would have thought we were talking about the stereotype of a hacker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Pent up demand to get out of basements. Anyway,
400 pounds. Yeah.
right. All those things that people think that just aren't true.
Yeah.
All right. So, hey,
What do you want to talk
20,
about?
well, 2020 was kind of a dumpster fire. Want to talk about it?
There are so many sub events in the dumpster fire. I don't think we have time to dive into any of them, but let's kind of go through just some of the stuff I remember. Remember back in the innocent days of Zoom bombing? Wasn't that cute? Yeah. Remember there were a couple of guys that were doing a pen test, and they actually broke into the courthouse in Dallas and got arrested, right? It turns out one of those guys, Gary DiMercurio, was one of the original employees of this company. Great guy. There was all that unemployment insurance fraud that went on right when everybody needed, assistance because of the pandemic. And I think that was done by African actors supported by Russia. Let's see. Video doorbells turned out to be a huge privacy problem, doing things like sending Wi-Fi passwords back to the companies, and they start on fire. Remember when Twitter got hacked? And they grabbed a whole bunch of influential accounts, and then they used those accounts to tweet out, go to this cryptocurrency site and buy this cryptocurrency. That was cute.
By the way, I still don't buy that as the
You don't
reason
think
that
so?
somebody did it. I don't, all right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Whatever.
I don't think they made anything from that.
To make hundreds of dollars?
Hundreds, yeah.
Hundreds. Yep.
Yeah, and potentially go to prison. Good strategy.
I mean, that's barely enough to buy dim sum for my family and me.
Well, that's because you're in Alaska. Let's see. Billions of records got jacked. And interestingly, one of the biggest unauthorized disclosure of records was, wait for it, an unprotected elk stack that was housing details of data breaches. Okay, you can't buy irony like that. Let's see. State of Washington got hit real hard, and Microsoft came in to clean up, and then did this kind of cool thing where they assisted counties with election security by giving them free Defender with advanced threat protection for the duration of the election. That was a good thing. McAfee says losses to cybercrime now $1 trillion. Ransomware as a service, hacking as a service have risen to mainstream, which is pretty scary. China stole intellectual property from just about everyone, and then Huawei and TikTok were used as bats to penalize China for their backdooring and data stealing ways. The banking industry started talking about how the entire financial sector could be taken down by hitting a few key banks. Class action suits after record breaches are the new ambulance chasing. Like the banking industry, the insurance industry started getting worried about tipping over if there was a global event, and they started using the terrorism out, right? We can't be responsible. That's terrorism, force majeure. Deepfakes became commoditized. We found out that law enforcement buys location data from a commercial service without warrant. CISA, the DHS division that does cybersecurity and infrastructure protection, asked for subpoena power so that they could identify the owners of technology on the internet that they find to be insecure. ICE has been investigating international cybercrime. We found that we ourselves are our own worst enemy when it comes to propagating disinformation, right? I saw this on a news program the other night. It was the best description I heard. It was called the self-licking ice cream cone, right? So somebody puts out a bunch of just garbage, that people are drawn to because it kind of confirms what they want to think. And they all start talking about it. And then at, the government level, they say, well, we need to investigate this because so many people are talking about it. Okay, that is a self-licking ice cream cone.
I thought we called that marketing.
Well, depending on how disparaging I want to be.
Since it's the eve of the new year, you're not going to disparage marketing. That's good to know. Thanks.
No, we need to play nice because I gotta coexist with you next year.
Oh, that's what we're doing. Got it.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest trends I think that happened was this whole thing about third-party security has really taken the spotlight. Everyone has to show everyone else their papers now. Nobody trusts anybody, and rightly so.
Yay! Hey, one of the things that I didn't hear you talk about in there, but we've certainly talked about a lot this year is the health sector.
Oh,
the health sector got, they got slammed by Ryuk, by, all of this stuff while a pandemic's going on. I mean, the news today, they can't even give out the vaccine fast enough. I think Georgia has only given out 16% of the vaccines that have been there. I mean, it's just like, because everybody's short-staffed because there's a pandemic going on.
Yeah. So, and the ones, I read the other day that, the people that working in healthcare, the ones that aren't getting sick are quitting because they've just been beaten up so badly.
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. Cyber-wise, we've talked about healthcare a lot.
Yeah. Well, so universal health systems, remember there was an entire network of hospitals that just got slammed with ransomware. University of, Virginia Medical, their health network slammed. I mean, those were a couple of big ones, but, broadly, the Ryuk, whatever, ransomware.
Get it right, Mike. Pronounce it like the hackers pronounce it.
Cyber. This stuff hit 6 hospitals in the U.S. over a 24-hour period, and that including 3 hospitals in a single county simultaneously in New York, which basically nullified healthcare in that county. A person was confirmed to have died from ransomware hitting a hospital. I think it was Austria. And they had to move this person to another hospital, and she died because it didn't get there in time. This trick bot, and Ryuk, it was really used to hassle hospitals. And it got to be, I don't want to say hyperbolic, but when law enforcement, the FBI and CISA come out and warn everyone of an imminent threat, that's a big deal. Vaccine research was targeted, including the cold supply chain, which is ongoing. COVID obviously was the bait of choice, right? But I think more importantly, home networks became part of the attack surface of every organization, including hospitals. Medical IoT was found to be incredibly insecure. Default passwords can't be changed. Open source libraries that have vulnerabilities in them. Insecure near field communications used to manage this stuff. I could go on and on. The health sector, I think, took the brunt of the cybering this year.
Well, the brunt of a lot of things.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a lot of stuff. I think I counted 352 things that you've gone through.
Yeah.
What were the biggest events of this year? The ones that provide a lesson learned, a warning, something we will really remember the year for cyber-wise.
I think a lot of it goes back to this third-party security and supply chain. I mean, that is really ingrained in everybody's lexicon right now. And the examples of that happening were, first of all, Blackbaud, right, which was they did financial and records management for the health sector, for philanthropist organizations, charitable organizations. They got smacked, and they were used as a jumping off point. And so, that's why all these hospitals have had to do these records breach disclosures, because they don't know what got stolen, and they have to assume that it was. There was Tyler Technologies, #1 service provider to local governments in the United States. They got hit with ransomware, and the actors were likely in there for a good long time, and had the ability to get access to a lot of local governments. And we still don't know what the extent of that is, what shoe may drop. And then there was the SolarWinds thing that was pretty big, and there is going to be fallout from that continues into the next year. And there's one other that I don't think has really gotten enough attention, and that's what the Iranians and the Israelis are doing to each other right now. I think this is a much bigger story than the kind of peripheral attention it's been given. It started with the Iranians disabled a water utility in Israel. Israel came back and disabled a maritime port, and this is ongoing. So, this is really starting to almost look like, bullets flying. So I think that one deserves more attention. So I'd say those four, those are my top picks.
Okay. Well, I'm not sure people saw the last one coming, but that's we'll see what comes of that. I have to say, one of the, it wasn't just bad news. Like, the folks who fight back. There were some great things this year. The election, right?
Oh yeah, I think that was probably one of the high spots of the year. Chris Krebs and SZA, really got under the hood and kind of made this whole information sharing stuff really real, especially for the local governments, the counties that conduct elections. I think another good result is the fact that the nominee for the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security is Alejandro Mayorkas. That is good for the cyber people. This is a guy we really want to see in there. I've met him, and this is going to be good for us. I don't know if there was that Solarium Commission, right? The Cyber Solarium Commission, and they came up with a bunch of really great recommendations that I think are going to be taken up by the Biden administration. The Stark Law was modified so that larger hospitals can provide cybersecurity services to smaller hospitals without being accused of, some kind of conflict of interest. That's good. California passed the California Consumer Privacy Act and then the California Privacy Rights Act. This is, I think, what's going to be driving a lot of our narrative in the upcoming year. The cyber maturity model certification took off, and everybody's hair is on fire right now about that. I actually think it's going to belly flop before it does its thing, but boardrooms started to listen, because now we can use terms in communicating to executives like class action and gross negligence, and that really gets them to listen. We started doing free security awareness training for everyone. That's a good thing. And
we're going to continue it in next year, too.
Yep.
Mike wasn't just finding out about that now.
No, I actually knew that. Pisces got bigger, right? Our free monitoring for local governments. So we bolt onto universities, including newest university is Alabama A&M, one of the HBCUs, right? Training analysts out there. There was an IoT law signed to force vendor standards. All that was good stuff. It's not like this was the bleakest year, but we certainly could have made a lot more progress in policy. And I'm hoping that in the upcoming year that there's going to be a little more attention at the federal and legislative levels, to bail us out of some of this stuff, because we need some rules.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Okay. New Year is well, it's already upon us. And I've seen celebrations in, one place that I don't think any of us knew the name of a year ago, but I've seen celebrations in Wuhan.
Yeah.
What predictions do you have for next year?
So the obvious one is this. I don't think it's going to surprise anyone. We are going to start exacting a price for Russian, Chinese, Iranian, North Korean actions. Um, you know, somebody's going to get smacked. We're going to have to make an example. I think that is going to happen in Q1. I think the new administration is going to get it with respect to the criticality of local governments and get some assistance out there so that they can monitor networks, share information, do a better job of not only, throwing in firewalls, but making sure, there's some visibility in the network activity. I think we're going to get some policy regarding commercial surveillance tools from like the NSO group, I think is what it's called in Israel, right? And hack for hire operators. I think we're going to get some rules around that. Regulation is not going to go away. Privacy is going to drive it. I think CMMC, right? Cyber Maturity Model Certification, and how the DoD is trying to do supply chain, third-party security. I believe it will rise from the ashes after a belly flop, because right now it seems to be belly flopping. And it'll be taken up by more federal agencies, and that'll be good. Extortion is going to be the crime of choice. It just works too well. And commensurately, records disclosure and the sale of stuff on the dark web is going to diminish. I think we can agree that all the records that can be stolen have been stolen, and they're harder and harder to monetize, and people are just looking for, easy ways to make money. Compromise through third parties is going to go way up. And these are businesses. They are looking for the opportunity to compromise the best island from which to hop to get to the greatest number of high value victims. I mean, this is starting to really look like some thought has gone into this. Ransomware is going to get into the cloud. Zero trust is going to have to become our norm, right? We don't trust anything that connects to any network. Show me your papers, computer. I think there's going to be more cyber activism. I wouldn't say it's anonymous, but there's groups like Unicorn Riot that do things like make records public that nobody wanted to make public. And I think in IT security in our field, analysts and auditors are going to remain the most in-demand roles. Just because regulations are not going to go away, we need auditors to keep everybody honest, and you've got to have analysts looking at what's going on in the network. So there's some predictions.
Good. And one of the things we've done this year is added what we call a kicker to this, which in news is, the fun story at the end that puts a smile on your face. And as we head into 2021, Mike, put a smile on people's faces.
Okay. So the competition for the craziest story of this year was pretty intense. I'll pick two. The first one is how the K-pop fans messed up the Trump rally in Tulsa. Okay, that was a kicker. Nobody saw that coming. That was, yeah, we all saw that coming. We all saw that coming. But I think the funniest one, really, as an aside, okay, yeah, Trump's Twitter password got guessed, and it was strangely something that was super easy to remember, as if there was a problem remembering hard things. I don't know. But I think the funniest one that happened this year, the funniest one was really the male chastity belt that you control with a smartphone that can be hacked and locked to the extent that it would have to be cut off. Okay, that's a real design flaw. I just don't know, who's advising that manufacturer, but that was a fail.
What? You don't know who's advising that manufacturer. So let me manufacture a smart chastity belt. Let's start there.
Yeah, really, exactly.
But no, it's the advisor. It's the advisor you're blaming.
No, well, okay, that's right. We got to go back to the ideation session that cooked that up. Yeah.
I don't
Fair
want to
enough.
think about. I really don't want to think about that ideation session.
Oh.
Hey, Maureen, just commented. She says, "Hey, Mike, this is Maureen. I'm living
Hi,
in New
Maureen.
Mexico now. Just heard your comment about Pisces. I'm wondering if you have approached the local government here."
In New Mexico, we have not. And that's a very good question because it turns out dude from Seattle stepping into Taos, New Mexico and saying, "Hey man, just put this thing on your network. It'll be cool." Right? That's a really hard conversation. So the best way to do it is for us to find influential organizations like associations of county governments or city government IT people and go talk to them, because they're influential and they can raise that awareness and we can start to have that conversation. I've tried to go out and have conversations with local governments in Alabama, and I'm a carpetbagger. They're not going to talk to me. So great question. On the other hand, we have made progress. We think the next state that is going to light up with Pisces will be Colorado. And I had a conversation with folks in Georgia and Tennessee yesterday. And I've talked to people in Oklahoma and South Carolina. And, depending on when the federal government, gets its financial papers straight, we'll likely go to an expansion phase in the upcoming year. And we're going to try to make it bigger.
Yeah, for sure. And Maureen, congrats on your move to New Mexico. Heck of a year to move.
Really?
But congrats on your move. If you know folks down there who you want to intro Mike to for, Pisces, so they don't think here's some crazy guy from the top left corner of the country who wants
exactly
to put
what
stuff
they're
on
going to think.
who wants to put stuff on my network. That'd be awesome. So, send him a note on LinkedIn or send me a note on LinkedIn, and we'll make that happen. Champagne says that is super great to hear. Glad to hear the program is expanding. We are too. God, there are so many. Mike talked about the good things that happen in cyber, but there are also so many good things that that we don't usually talk about, like the number of students who graduated out of the Pisces program, the number of people who, there are a lot of people having trouble getting jobs, but not who graduate from the Pisces program. And we've been hiring in the SOC, and, those jobs, it's such a good feeling to be training people for jobs that continue to exist in a pandemic. And then to also be hiring them. It's super cool.
Yeah.
Mike, you did something good.
Not yet. We're getting there.
That's what Mike looks like when he's blushing. Okay. All right, everybody. We will see you in 2021.
It's not how this works. They see us. We don't see them.
Oh, well, no, I can see Champagne and Maureen in the comments, so I can see them.
Okay.
Yeah, but mostly they see us. All right. Well, Mike, do something about the hair, and we'll see you in 2021.
All right. Bye. Bye, everybody.